In this lesson, we'll take a look at a few ways we can edit keys on Max's track bar. Let's go ahead and select our Podracer's cab. Alright, so if we want to go ahead and just slide keys around, let's say change the timing for animation, we can go ahead and just select the key on the track bar and go ahead and use the left mouse button and just drag it wherever it needs to be in time. Alright, so that's pretty basic. Now let's say if we wanted to clone a key. Well, to clone keys in Max, on Max's track bar, it's as simple as selecting the keys we'd like to clone, holding down Shift, and dragging. And notice now those keys are now cloned. We can also scale our keys. Now that requires a little bit more work. What we need to do is right click on the track bar and go to Configure and choose Show Selection Range. Now we don't see anything quite yet except for this gray bar, but watch what happens when we select our keys. Now what we get is this line that indicates the range of our selection. And as we start to drag these white boxes around, notice we can scale our keys that way. So we can kind of speed up the pod's animation with that tool. It may not want to do that here. It doesn't seem to fix the animation at all. It doesn't seem to work, so I'll go ahead and undo that. But that's how we can scale keys. We could even slide keys using this tool by just dragging from the center of our selection bar. So we can edit that and see what type of change it makes on the animation. Okay, great. Now, one tool I really like to use, it's kind of like cloning keys, but with it, we can do things like add moving holds. And to use this, what we do is basically go to a frame that we'd like to clone from. So let's say if we wanted to take the values of our keys from frame, let's say 6, and drag that over to frame 14 to add a little bit more of a hold before our Podracer shifts to the right. We simply left click and go to frame 6, hold down the Shift key and drag our time slider, and I'll go ahead and drag it to about frame 14. Now notice we get this dialog that appears. It's the Create Keys dialog, and here we can define what keys we would like to set. Alright, so I'd like to set position and rotation, but no need for scale, so I'll go ahead and uncheck that. Notice we can also change our source time and destination time if we would like. So let's say if we wanted to drag the values from frame 5, we can most certainly do so by just typing in value of 5. Alright, but I'll go ahead and bring that back to 6. So now watch what happens when we go ahead and choose OK. Now the ship has been offset and a key has been set. And the value of this key is from frame 6. So again, this is a great tool for adding moving holds and animation, where you want the characters to kind of pause so that the audience can absorb what has happened, but at the same time we don't want them to just stay still, which leads to dead frames. Okay, so right now you could kind of see the change in the animation, how the pod now holds a little bit longer to the left and then starts to move over to the right. Now what we'd probably want to do there on frame 14 is go ahead and just pull the pod down just a little bit more. A little bit more over just to correct that. So even after using that tool, you may need to make some small tweaks, but it definitely saves time in that process. Alright, so now that we've animated the Podracer's cab, we have the Podracer flying through space. We don't quite know how this animation is moving in real time. So in the next lesson, our last animation lesson, I'm going to go ahead and show you a tool you can use to preview your animations before you're ready to go ahead and render them.